power-up is the 7th chapter of Half-Life. At the end of the previous chapter Blast Pit, we're just aimlessly wandering through some random pipes and tunnels. And then suddenly the pipe collapses and we land on this table, crushing the headcrab hiding below. We take a lot of damage from this fall, but Valve left a couple of medkits on the table for us to enjoy. In the PlayStation 2 version of the game, this was made even easier by having the room be filled with water to break your fall. The player gets a few new toys to play with in this chapter. The first is a camera? Wait, no, it's a laser trip mine. The next is the secondary fire for the MP5, the grenade launcher, which is probably one of the best weapons you can have in this game. And the final new weapon we get to play with is the revolver. I suppose in a sense you could call these power-ups. Moving on, we enter this big concrete room and we see a new enemy, the Gargantua, fighting a couple of soldiers. The Gargantua is immune to most damage, but with enough explosives we can take him down. But there is a better way of dealing with him later. Many speedrunners at this point will use the previously acquired laser trip mines to climb up this barrier to get access to the next chapter, skipping power up entirely. A key part of this chapter is the facility falling apart, mostly because of the Gargantua stomping around and wreaking havoc, but also because of the other aliens, the soldiers, and potentially the player. There's also a lot of explosions. For some reason this box has some crossbow ammo in it, even though we don't have a crossbow at this part of the game yet. Eventually we get to this area where some soldiers have set up an encampment. This area is quite fun to play around in, and it plays out very differently each time, and parts of the environment are quite destructible. Some headcrabs can start spawning here too if you or the soldiers cause the vent grates to break during all of the commotion. Next we go down this lift and the soldiers have laid a trap for us made up of trip mines. Fortunately we can lob a grenade down here and sort them out. Alternatively, we can jump off the side in this main area as the fan down here is pushing upwards, and this will help break our fall. The power won't turn on until we get the pump in the basement working, since the area is a bit flooded and infested with leeches for some reason. When you turn the power on, this headcrab here will always have a blast of electricity zapped at it, wherever it is. Once we go back up, a few soldiers will come down on the lift to attack us, and a couple more are upstairs, but not as many as before. A savvy player who's played the game before might decide to set up some laser trip mines up here just to deal with the soldiers as soon as they appear. Finally, we make our way back to the train turntable room and we get the Gargantua to chase us into the room with too much electricity in it. This part here where we kill the Gargantua by simply turning on some industrial equipment reminds me of the end of Terminator where Sarah Connor goes, "It's Connorin' time!" and crushes evil robot Arnie with a hydraulic press. And now we can drive our train away. Normally the player is meant to go all the way back to the control room to turn the turntable, but if you jump up here at just this spot you can just about hit the switch. The Black Mesa version of Power Up is mostly the same as the original, however we now have the added twist of the Gargantua getting hit by a rocket from a soldier and falling backwards into some cables and causing a power cut in the area, also enshrouding the level in darkness. Having half of the chapter in dark and the latter half illuminated whilst having the player go back and forth through the same space is neat and helps keep things a bit more varied. It also thematically fits the title of the chapter well. It also allows the developers of Black Mesa to show off their lighting effects. Like most of Black Mesa, each level generally has a lot more enemies in it, and every section is given a nice graphical makeover. This part at the beginning where the Gargantua is trying to get us almost has a survival horror vibe to it. And instead of having the player having to make the turntable turn, the gravely injured guard does it for you. However, the environments feel a lot less destructible by the player or the soldiers when compared to the original Half-Life version, and there's no way of doing the skip with the laser trip mines anymore. And also, there's no random leeches down here in the flooded basement to nibble at your ankles.